The doubt it almost calcifies. Even when the darkness bleeds into tomorrow, I will reach for a silver line. If I get home, if I get home, but if I get home with nothing, if I get home, if I get home, but if I get home with nothing.
Welcome to Folk Roots Radio. I'm Jan Hall. Great to be back for another live interview. Today I'm going to be joined by Mattie Leon. Now, Mattie is a Toronto-based singer-songwriter. He's got a wonderful, catchy and soulful folk pop style. He actually joined us in the studio here a few years ago for a chat and some live songs. He brought his brother along and the wonderful Nelson Sobral as well. We had some great fun. He's got a new album out. It's entitled In Natural Light. It's great to welcome Mattie Leon back to Folk Roots Radio. How are you doing today, Mattie?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you.
Yeah, I have to say, I love your music because you have, you're just so optimistic.
Thank you.
Everything you produce, even when you produce a sad song, I always feel like there's hope wrapped up in there.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just really like it. So, I love your music. I have to say, I love that voice. I still don't know where it comes from.
Thank you very much.
It is a beautiful voice. Now, for people that are not familiar with your music, why don't you just give us a little bit of a rundown of Mattie Leon?
So like what I'm up to, or just
just a little
my
bit
elevator
of a background.
pitch.
Yeah, give us a little bit of a background on your music.
Yeah, so I've been doing this solo project under my name for about, I guess, 5 or 6 years now. And, I've been a musician since I was about 17, 18, and been making my way, like was in a couple rock bands. And, but I've always been song centered, like song focused. And since kind of doing this solo thing with my brother Mike, it's just been really focused on songwriting and lyrics, and the last 5 years it's flown by. And a couple of years ago we were picked up by a label, and it's been really exciting lately working with them. But overall, like my elevator pitch to people when they ask, who do you like, what do you sound like, I always just kind of throw like, Paul Simon, maybe solo Paul McCartney years, bit of James Taylor, and then I say my voice is a little higher when I sing. That's
well,
that's like my 30-second.
Sing really well, and I've got to say, when you were at the keyboard, I want to encourage anyone listening to this interview to check out the videos you did for us live before, because I love watching you play keyboards and sing. It's a very special experience. It's really great.
Thank
you.
So
you mentioned you've been picked up by a label. That's Inside Pocket, right?
Inside Pocket, yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. The new album, as we mentioned at the start, is entitled In Natural Light. So tell us a little bit about this project.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, before we got picked up, I was getting over 30, and I was realizing that, hey, like I might just have to, run this ship myself for the rest of my life. So I better just, keep at it. And then just as I kind of had made up my mind that I was going to be mixing and producing and doing all that stuff for myself, this opportunity came along, and all that stuff changed and flipped upside down. And it's been a really cool experience getting to all of a sudden be a little more hands off with the behind the desk stuff, and just focusing on the songs and the performance. And so we got to work with Gavin Brown, who's like this great Canadian producer, and we learned a lot from him. And it was honestly the first time we've recorded in like a big time studio, like where, the Arkells record, Bare Naked Ladies record, just a big place called Noble Street Studio in Toronto. And I'd been doing everything in my, bedroom up until this. So it was really, really exciting. And we were supposed to have the album out a year ago in April. And the world just kind of flipped upside down a little bit, and so we kind of pushed things back. We released a few singles off of it, stretched it, and then now it's out in April, and we're doing our best to promote it, and we're really, really proud of it. And yeah, I hope you like it. Hope people like it.
No, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
I got to say, I did watch your little video that you created
Oh,
for
thanks.
the album.
Yeah.
And if people want to, Mattie talks about recording in his bedroom, as I say, before he graduated to a much larger space at Noble Street Studios in Toronto, and it certainly looks
Yeah.
very impressive. Now, 8 songs on the album. Tell us a little bit
Yep.
about coming together with those.
So what we did was I was prepping before getting picked up by Inside Pocket. I was prepping the next release that I was going to do on my own. And I had about 12 songs that I thought were going to be part of an album. And I had released 2 songs, Caught Up and When Love Is Strong, about 6 months prior to that. And I was going to put them on an album with these songs. And then we got picked up and we started kind of showing the guys these demos. And we literally just picked the ones that we thought were strong, that went together. And that's how those songs came together. And it's a little eclectic, but I think it all works. I think just my taste in general and the way I write is kind of eclectic. Like I get really, if I do 2 songs that kind of sound the same, the third one's going to be way different. So I have a really tough time on like honing into a sound. I'm a lot better at just kind of writing, like going towards the muse, wherever the muse is for that song. So if it was like a Beatles reference, it would be like White Album is like how my brain works.
Okay.
And it does not work like Sgt. Pepper or something where everything kind of is like, or like Please Please Me, where it's like a very, all those early Beatles things, they sound like the Beatles so much. So it's something I'm working on though, trying to get better at like, a collection of songs that work well together.
It's interesting you say that because I know when we were talking before and listening to this album, to me, you're very much a singles type artist. I mean, the songs that you produce, as you say, that, you can write 3 songs and, one of them will be completely different to the other 2. I guess from your point of view, it makes it a bit of a challenge when you're creating an album to make sure that you feel like you have that natural flow through it. But
Totally.
this album definitely has that. You must be pretty
Okay,
pleased
good.
with the way it
Thanks.
turned out.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Like I remember the first song we kind of heard that Gavin and Dave Mahoxie was the mixing guy, that they had, they took the recordings from Noble Street, they took them away, and Mike and I were just, doing our thing, playing shows. And then the first day we went to meet up with them to hear, it was Silverline was the song we heard. And it wasn't even completely mixed. It was just like close. And I remember listening to it and I was kind of standing behind the guys. And then they turned around and they're like, "So what do you think?" And I was honestly like, I didn't know what to say. I just told them I never thought I'd sound like this. Like I never thought that, that sound, I never thought I'd have the chance to produce something so like well produced. So it was really, really exciting for me.
And I think
yeah.
Silverline, that's a song that was inspired, I think, by your brother Mark. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
I remember when you joined
Yeah.
us in the studio here, you mentioned that you said something like, well, if I wasn't making music, I'd probably be a golfer or something.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that
Yeah.
until I watched that little video. It's like, oh my God, they do have a golfer in the family.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that song, we were all golfers. So like Mike was a golfer, I was a golfer. And our older brother Mark was playing on what was called the Canadian tour at the time. And he played on a thing called the web.com tour a little bit too. And so when he was in his 20s, he was just traveling around North America, like nonstop, not knowing what he was how much money he was going to make that week, how much he was going to spend. And now doing what we're doing, traveling around the country, it was really, there was just this parallel that I couldn't ignore when I was writing this song. And so but I guess it's similar for, musicians, golfers, anybody chasing that dream that there are just so many moments where you're alone and there's like doubt that creeps in. So it was trying to kind of get to the essence of that. That's what that song's about, and not giving up when that little bit of hope you're talking about.
So tell us a little bit about who played on the album with you. I mean, your brother Mike, now he is your drummer.
Yep.
And I guess the core of obviously if it was a duo, you usually play with a trio, but if it was a duo, it would just be you and Mike in the van. But so he's very much on drums. Who else played on the project?
Yeah. It was literally it was us two, and Gavin did a few things. Like he played some organs and stuff. I did the pianos, the guitars, the bass, and then Gavin Brown did, a few of like a lot of the ethereal, almost like the setting stuff was, guitar work that Gavin is really, really good at, or guitar work that Dave Mahoxie's really good at. Like just, almost like painting the picture a little bit, like the edges of the picture, like filling in all the edges of the picture and making it expansive. And and then Mike played drums for every track, and it was a pretty small little team for this one. Pretty small little team. And when we play live, I'm sorry, I'm just seeing this number thing come up right now. It's my camera is like one of these cheap Nikons, so it's going to shut off in 8, 7, 6, and then I just got to turn it back on. It's not a big deal, but we've been doing live streams and we've been dealing with this thing too. So there, we're back. It's every 30 minutes. Yeah. I can get into that later. But live, we Mike and I travel, and we do 100% of the shows duo, and then whenever we can, we bring Nelson to play bass and do harmonies too. So a couple days ago, we were out in Coburg, and it was the first time we got to play with the trio in a long time, like in a really long time. And it was just, a reminder of how much better we are with the three of us, and having Nelson's voice and bass playing on there. Hopefully we'll have a lot more of that in the coming months.
Well, it's certainly, obviously, we are still in the midst. I like to think we're moving out of these strange COVID times, but it obviously has completely upended everything. Do you see things being a lot different for you when we get out of this? I mean, in some ways, you mentioned that, you'd hoped to get the album out last year. It was delayed a year. But, in some ways, that can play both ways. I mean, I think, one of the things I've noticed from the radio point of view is people have been really spending a lot of time writing and, and working on their craft, which we are seeing some of the benefit of that now, but I think in the next year or so, I think we're going to see even more.
For sure.
How do you see things moving forward?
For us specifically, hopefully, hopefully venues have stayed up. Some venues can stay afloat and we have places to play. Festivals starting up again, like those opportunities to tour and get out there and play. That's what I'm hoping for the most. And I think that'll happen. Like, I think, especially the outdoor stuff, we've already noticed that in the last few months, the difference between last summer and this summer with just like vaccinations and stuff, and people being a little more comfortable with being, coming to a show outside has been really nice. And then as far as the writing thing goes, for us, I mean, I've never had a year in my life like this where it's like, not only was it just like downtime to write, but it was also coming right after working with Gavin, and he helped, like he had given me some tips with my songwriting nothing like major, but enough that was something to bite into for me. And as a songwriter, you don't have, for me, there's not a lot of like mentors that I've had with songwriting. Your mentors are the people that you listen to, like McCartney or Paul Simon. And with songwriting, so much of it seems like a trick or magic. So to have somebody kind of just help me kind of have the courage to lyrically say what I want to say a bit more, and lyrically be a little more clear, and not worry about being clever all the time, and just song structure, like really tightening it up and getting rid of the fat. So it was like I learned that stuff in January, and then the world shut down in March, and I had this year where I could just practice all that stuff. So all of a sudden, we're sitting on, now we're not going to be releasing all these songs, but like, I think we're like coming around 60 songs in the last year. That it's like the most material I've ever had. And it's just because my morning routine was just wake up, drink like 3 coffees while I'm sitting on the front deck and playing guitar and just writing stuff. And so although it was a really tough year, hopefully I'll be using these songs that I wrote this year for a while, which would be great.
Yeah. No, it sounds wonderful. I'm so pleased for you. So you're with Inside Pocket now. That's, Gavin Brown, you were working with in the studio. I think Dexter Brown is managing you now.
Yeah.
Do you have a feel for where you want the future to go?
I do. Like, I think I know that if we do everything we can, like the place where we belong, if our success would be, theaters. Like I'd love to be able to tour around, like have a career like a Blue Rodeo or a Donovan Woods or something like that, where or like Bahamas right now, where you're playing to like a size room, like a theater, where we can still have the kind of show that we put on right now, where we talk, we explain songs, there's a bit of storytelling along with the songs, and it's not just like a big spectacle. So I think that's what we're shooting for, is like to be able to tour around North America. And if one day we could be playing in theaters, that would be amazing. But I mean, we need songs to do really well for us for that to happen. So hopefully that can happen.
You've got some great songs, and I think the potential for getting publishing deals on those.
Thanks.
And also placement, because I've talked to other people before, and everything has changed. The industry has certainly been turned upside down. Streaming has changed things, and one of the few areas where you can really make a difference these days is getting a good publishing deal, or getting placement for TV and video.
For sure. Yeah. We've had a bit of luck. We've had a bit of luck with that stuff. You just never know when it's going to come. So it's like you just get like a random email and you're like, hey, like, oh, they want to use that song. Sweet. Great. That's awesome. But it never happens when you think, like, you send all these emails out and you hope that they might use something right away. But
no, that's great. Well, look, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. If you want to learn more about Mattie Leon's music, go to mattieleon.com. Now, I want to finish with All the Time. It's a wonderful song. I love it, especially because you got a great video. And, I've been a sucker for COVID tunes throughout the pandemic. I love it where people get creative and invite their friends from family and fans to get involved. Tell us a little bit about this song. Now, I think this song was written pre-pandemic, but
it was, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I had started writing it. It was just a little snippet. There's a Bob Dylan song. What's it called? Gotta Serve Somebody, I think it's called.
Gotta Serve Somebody, yeah.
And the way his verses go, I remember hearing it in the car with Nelson. Nelson put it on. And just being kind of like, oh, it's like this poem where it's like this run-on poem that the verses tee up this chorus. And so I just was taking my crack at like something like that. And then I showed it to Gavin. He really liked it. So then I started finishing it. And I remember being in Noble Street recording it. And like, yeah, like there's a line where the world's on fire, and literally like the world was on fire in Australia, like the wildfires in Australia were all over the news. So I just thought that was really interesting. And then, the whole COVID thing happened, and it was just, yeah, the song kind of meant a little bit more than I think even I intended, which is really, really great. And for the video, it was like, okay, well, we're going to be putting this song out as a single. We can't shoot a video. There's nothing, like, it was like right in the middle of the lockdown stuff. So my wife, Jackie, she suggests, she's a video editor, and she suggested, she's like, well, why don't you reach out to a bunch of people? Like reach out to a bunch of, your mailing list and your fans and your friends and family, and just see if they'll send things to you that mean like that show what they're up to and how they're keeping positive and the good things that are around them. And yeah, she weaved it into this really great video that I love. And it's so neat seeing all the different faces and seeing what people were doing, during that year.
Yeah, it's a great song, great video, and and
Thanks.
I think for me, when I watch it, it just reminds me that we will all get through this. So
yeah, for sure.
It's a great way to finish. I want to again thank you for spending time with us today. This is Mattie Leon with All the Time from his wonderful new album In Natural Light. You're listening to Folk Roots Radio. And Mattie, thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Jan.
You can run towards some money, you can run towards a life. You can run so far away from pain, you start to lose sight. For